Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Kaczynski,
Here.
Vice Chair Rick Proctor,
Present.
Weldon present, Wendy Bradley,
Here.
Mark Meadow, Mark Woodridge, here, Commissioner McConnell,
President.
Rachel Osenga is absent, and Commissioner Powell, or Howell, excuse me.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? If you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Support. Moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June 9th, 2025 meeting. Let's move the minutes.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. We have no correspondence. We have no old business. We have no public hearings. So we're into other business. The first item is a site plan review.
Thank you. So before the planning commission tonight is a request to construct a 40,500 square feet industrial building comprised of 2 mirrored suites. The property is located off of Ena Drive, which is just north of Rickle Street, south of Mount Hope, and west of Canal. The property is owned by Mike Davis, who owns or is part of RK Davis LLC. Currently, the property is just over 12 acres in size. If you read the staff report, you'll notice that part of the building located at 2702 Ena Drive actually extends on the subject parcel. One of the recommended stipulations for approval is that the applicant has to submit for a lot line adjustment, which will then put 2702 completely on its own parcel, leaving the proposed 10 points. Sorry, where are we? Approximately 10-acre parcel for this construction. Looking at the history of this parcel, there was some activity around 2022. The applicant submitted for 2 variances, which were granted. However, no action was taken and those approvals have diminished. Neighboring properties are all going to be industrial. To the north, there's a Verizon wireless cell tower. To the south is Yazasaki, North America. To the east is the Munters building, and to the west is the I-96, I-69 right of way. Setbacks, you'll note in the staff report that it's required to be 75 feet. I measured approximately 60 feet from what I thought the Ena Road right of way likely will be. This may require the building to be either removed or the applicant to come in for a zoning variance. However, because Ena Road is not officially a public road, we don't have a definite idea of where the right of way is going to be. And thus we can't establish the front yard setback until the Ena Road situation is resolved. Side yard and rear yard all meet requirements. Lot coverage meets requirements. Height is going to be about 27 feet. It wasn't included in the plan, but I did talk to the applicant on Friday who confirmed the height. Lot area minimum required for industrial is 1 acre, provided it's 10.61 acres. And lot width, again, required is 150 feet, but we can't necessarily be sure because the lot width is the measurement of the Ena Road right away. which again, is unknown at this time. Looking at natural features, I identified two natural features on the site. One is the Williams Drain, to the north of the proposed building, and also there's a wooded area right around here. The zoning ordinance requires that these areas be shown and that an impact statement, a protection plan, and a tree survey be submitted. So those are going to be contingent, or any approval will be contingent on submission of those. Traffic, the anticipated traffic impact will not generate the need for a traffic study. Going to parking, they're proposing 13 spaces on each side for a total of 26. In the report, I note that two of the spaces, one on each side, are below 7 feet from what I can measure, and that the proposed handicap space is 8 feet. Granted, 8 feet is a requirement of the Michigan Building Code for design of a handicap space. However, our zoning ordinance requires all spaces to be 9 feet wide. So again, approval will be contingent upon adjusting the parking lot to meet our minimum standards. The zoning ordinance also requires bicycle parking. There was none shown. And the sidewalk adjacent to the parking spaces needs to be 7 feet wide, whereas the proposed plan shows it at 6 feet wide. Landscaping requirements, greenbelt landscaping, again, you need the measurement of the Ena Road right of way to determine the appropriate amount of greenbelt landscaping. Since that is unknown, again, it'll have to be addressed later on administratively. Parking lot landscaping, if you can see, I split them off into two. So looking at required landscaping for each side, that goes in 1 tree per side. So they'll have to add 2 additional trees. Signage, no sign is shown on the submitted plan. However, on the application, it was stated that a sign will be necessary or wanted. So on the previous updates, we were requiring that the signage placement be shown so we can review it and make sure that it's not going to be encumbered by any water or sewer easements or anything like that, and it's in a safe location. Exterior lighting, no lighting plan has been provided. However, in industrial, there are no lighting standards. So that's fine. Utilities, the site will be serviced by public water and sewer. The utility department has provided some comments. We're still waiting back on engineering. Same with the drain office. The drain, I talked to the drain office on Friday. They have received plans and are currently reviewing it. Looking through section 607 standards for site plan review. One, they are compatible with the industrial character of the area. Industrial uses are recommended for this location by the comprehensive plan. 3, there's a proper relationship between public thoroughfares and proposed service drives, driveways, and parking areas. My comment was that the curb cuts onto Ena Drive will be reviewed by the Eaton County Road Commission. Staff finds the position of the parking area and driveway meet our required standards. But again, we don't really know for certain where Ena Drive is going to be, so that could change in subsequent reviews. The fire department has received the plan. They have not yet provided comments. Number 9 is non-motorized transportation improvements. There's none recommended in our plans for this area. Site stormwater. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So we're talking about the space that's inside the red?
Yeah, so this is
Right.
the existing parcel as it is right now, the 12 plus acre parcel. As you can see, this is that southern building that encroaches on this parcel. If we look at the site plan, so that's this corner. The proposed lot line is consistent with our minimum standards for side yard setback. We have the Ena Drive turnaround right here. There are truck docks, about 4 of them, some entrances right here with the main entrance on this side. And you have a line of parking right here.
Any other further questions from commission members? What is the pleasure of the commission?
I have a question for the, Mr. Chair, question for the applicant. I see the recommendation to go to 9 feet for barrier free parking, which is a great idea. And I compliment the applicant on this plan to add 4 spaces as opposed to just 2. My question is, with the additional width, will you still make 4 parking spaces available?
Yeah, I think we can do that for sure. No problem.
Any other questions, observations? Someone prepared to make a motion?
I'll make it. I move that the planning commission approve the site plan application from R.K. Davis for the proposed plan consisting of a 40,500 square foot building with an accompanying 26 vehicle parking spaces and 8 truck docks located on parcel number 040-028-200-04100, subject to the following conditions, of which there are 18.
Do I have support? Support. Moved and supported. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Chair, it's a question for the, again, for the applicant. Since there are a number of conditions, do you have any issues with any of the conditions that are listed?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said there are a number of. There are a number of conditions listed. Do you have any concern about any of the conditions that are listed?
We always have concern.
Yeah, please state your name and your
Mike Davis.
address for the record.
But I don't see anything we can't work around.
Mike, can you state your name and address for them? I think they hear you.
Mike Davis. 5236 Duvon Court, Lansing.
Thank you.
That's our office.
Any other further discussion? Seeing none,
Could I just bring one thing?
this
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Ah,
Can I just bring one thing up?
sure.
This is Greg Petru with Kim's.
Yeah, Greg Petru, 2116 Hazlet Road. I just had one question on item 6. In regards to the natural features study and the tree survey. Most of this site is pretty much clear where we're proposing the building and parking. I think a lot of that, the trees are to the north on the parcels that we aren't even touching. So I was just curious if you thought that was really necessary since we're not doing anything up there.
The ordinance requires it.
Okay.
I can understand your, point of view, but it is part of the existing parcel and it is required by ordinance.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anything further? This is roll call, Bob. Oh, voice vote. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion is approved. So you want to tell them what the next steps are?
So yeah, the next steps, we still need to wait for engineering and fire comments, and then I'll share everything with you. And then we'll begin the process of whittling us down into something that we can approve. However, I do want to note that the construction of Enid Drive into a public road is going to be the first step before we can put a final stamp on this plan.
Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is an update on the 2025 master plan development process.
I'll take that one. Hi, everyone. So we're, I guess, closer to midstream, well, closer to the end than the beginning for the 2025 master plan. The next big event that's coming up is on the overhead. Dave is sharing the brochure that the consultant created for the August 5th event. So that is and I'm hoping as many commissioners are available to come out for that. That's the open house. It's kind of the kickoff for the public portion of the process. At this time, the CERT community survey will launch. So that's part of what our team will be, is at the meeting, sharing, at the open house, sharing access to that community survey. We're working behind the scenes right now with the consultant to develop those questions and make sure that they're getting at the heart of kind of the land use decisions that we're going to be looking at over the next few years. So that's the big next thing. So it's at the Delta Township Library. It'll run from 3:30 to 6:30. Very much an open house setting where we'll have information for people and maps to react to and have conversations with the team about, and push out that survey so that everyone gets access to it. And I'm sure there will be more things, but that's kind of the initial mission of just that evening. And to talk about, we'll also be able to talk about kind of how the process will entail, or kind of how it will move forward. In addition to this open house, it's not an open house, but we are scheduling 3 different focus groups. And those are invited attendees from specific areas, specific interest areas. The consultant with staff and other township folks input, putting those invitations together right now to get people together sometime during the month of August and maybe even into September. So we'll have those meetings, and those meetings will help provide information for our team and will help inform kind of the process generally. And then there'll be a kind of not a wrap-up meeting, but another open house meeting at the Lansing Mall in October. I don't have working on confirming that reservation with the mall, but I don't have a firm confirmation yet. So lots more to come on the master plan. My big ask for this group would be to tell your friends, tell your family, other people that live in the community, help us spread the word about the open house. The township is pushing it out through its social media channels, mass mailing, inclusion in publications. And so we'll get a lot of eyes on it, but we want as many people as possible to see this and participate. That's always the challenge with these public initiatives, is just getting it in front of people and giving them something to really chew on and provide feedback on. So our challenge is no more unique than anywhere else, but please help spread the word. And I'm going to be doing the same at whatever community groups or meetings I can find around the area. If you identify an opportunity that you think I should be there to give my spiel on the master plan, please let me know. All of this will coalesce into the document itself, which is we have to provide, required to under the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. However, I know everybody says this when they go into a plan, like, we don't want to make a plan that's going to sit on the shelf. That's a, kind of old language at this point, but I mean, we are designing this to be useful to everyone. And I think I've said this before, but it's a big focus on engineering and utility capacity. It's really based in reality. So too many communities will say, we want to see this density in this corridor or in this area of the community, and then find out that they actually can't serve it. So we're trying to back into, to me, it's more of a political and practical decision on if a community wants to grow and how it wants to grow, where, all those kind of things. But we'll be able to at least provide information to decision makers that if you want to grow, here's where you can grow based on a variety of factors. For example, the Carrier Creek is probably $100 million plus investment to provide additional capacity there. So unlikely and probably not a reasonable expectation in our lifetimes at least. But there are other places where it may be easier, and not to say that we should be growing. I really am putting that in the politicians, and I'll tell them that too. We're putting that in their ballpark. But we want to make these decisions really driven by data in the community that's helpful. So that's where we're going with this. So please tell your friends, everybody you know, August 5th, 3:30 at the Delta Township Library. And we'll keep you informed as we go, particularly when it comes to the community survey. We really want to get those questions right. When I ask questions, they're going to be impactful. The responses actually mean something and tell us some information. So we'll share those as soon as they're available.
Yeah, my observations on it is I really want to praise the consultant that was brought in to develop the plan. They're focusing, well, they're taking a very broad view, I think, far more than I've seen in other similar groups. And not just on kind of issues that they're zeroing in on, they're really looking at the context of everything that is out there so that it makes sense. When we have the plan together, they're encouraging and leading very strong discussions on not just growth, but the type of growth and how the growth interacts with one another. I've been quite impressed, and I think we'll get a really good product out of it that will guide us for the next decade. And of course, we just saw an example of where the master plan comes in. The first thing that gets asked when we're looking at site plans and everything else is this consistent with the master plan? So.
Yeah. And that's a question that's challenging for us to answer right now with it being so out of date. So back in 2013, that was, this was relevant, but there's so obviously so much has changed since then. So this will really give us a good updated look at land use and opportunities, challenges, all that. Yep.
Is this the first open house you've had for master plan?
This will be the first, yep. Yeah, and we're just starting kind of the public engagement portion of this. The township will have to provide, we have to go through, follow the state law, so send out official notices to surrounding jurisdictions. There's a lot of kind of formal noticing that we have to do to get this process off the ground, which we will now start in earnest. But, and hopefully soon we'll have start to give the public something to react to, that maps or future land use planning, chapters from the document, that kind of thing. So the behind the scenes consultant team is working on that. Our team is working on reviewing those documents and sharing ideas and providing feedback to that. So it's all coming together. We are a lot further down the road than we were when we started, but there's still a lot to go.
Peter, can you email fire to us? So that-
Yeah, it's in the meeting pack, but I'll send a separate PDF around that's easier to send out.
Get hard copies of the flyer as well.
Yeah, I can print some and for anyone that wants to pick them up or however we want to do that.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple nuts and bolts questions. You mentioned that there are 3 focus groups. What are those focus groups?
I can get them here. Give me a second.
And the second part of that question is, what's the process to determine who the invitees are?
The second question first, we are simply picking people. So we're trying to find representatives from, it really started with, it's not so much people, it's organizations. And so we identified kind of group wide through the consultant and our the steering committee and my colleagues at the township picked organizations that we thought were relevant to those categories and are working just to identify the proper person at that organization versus so organization first versus people. And then we're trying to find who those people are. And there are some places we do not know, like the best contacts. So we're working on identifying those people.
It's a rather.
Yeah, I think they're aiming for 35 to 40 at each of these groups. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get that many people, but that's a lot of people.
So people can't volunteer or?
That's not the way that the consultant set up the process. It's specifically supposed to be a focus group where people of let's just say real estate agents, and that's a part of one of them, but they will be in the room and the consultant will have, they will lead a discussion where they're asking questions and trying to get feedback on specific issues,
Okay.
processes, that kind of thing. So it's geared towards a specific audience on a specific topic. And then they use that to populate the master plan
Mhm.
in different ways.
Okay.
David, it's hard to navigate I have the categories. Can I email the group after the
Sure.
meeting? Okay.
Sure. I have two more questions too. The master plan open house goes on for 3 hours. So what's the format, for that? Because I came to the MDOT one
Mhm.
and that was pretty freewheeling, You either went to one room or, the other room and it was, whatever you made of it.
Mhm.
While you were here. So my question is, how do you ensure that someone coming at 3:30 gets the same information that someone coming at 5:30 gets?
We're still working on that. I don't have a firm answer yet. I don't know that we're planning specific presentations like MDOT did. They didn't advertise that, but it was gonna be like a 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock presentations and then chat in the middle of that. So I don't know for sure yet. We're still planning all of that.
My other question is, because most of the information, that you've shared so far is all process information.
Mhm.
My question is, what type of information is gonna be shared at the open house?
I think it's gonna be limited to. I mean, honestly, we're fleshing all this out right now, so I don't have good firm answers for you. I have some of the same questions because I don't wanna, how are we gonna keep people busy for that long? I want it to be a meaningful experience for everybody. I know for sure the launch of the survey and probably discussions around that. I am hoping to have something about the areas like they're not growth areas, but potential development areas that are identified in this plan, which you have not seen yet. And land use discussion, so potentially updates to the future land use map, so specific questions about different geographic areas.
And another question is, have you publicized who's on the steering committee?
I've mentioned it at the board level, it's the chair of the planning commission, it's the Marietta, and it's Rachel, and then planning staff, and that's it. So the steering committee is a small team because a lot of what we're doing is reviewing documents from the consultant, marking them up, sharing ideas and getting them back to them. It's not necessarily, I mean, there will be some policy discussions as we go, but it's been mostly logistics so far, like review of the documents and just kind of logistics process stuff. We're getting to that next stage where there'll be some broader policy discussions and some more direct land use chatter. But we're just not there yet.
Can I just say one other thing too? When you talk about focus groups, the thing that comes to mind to me is stakeholders. And I'm from the agricultural stakeholder group, whatever. How can I be assured that there's somebody from my agricultural community represented in these focus groups? Because if you're talking about real estate agents, how many of those real estate agents live in Delta Township? That you're gonna be relying on their opinion on where our township should go. But they're not residents, they don't live here.
Mm-hmm.
Their children don't play in the parks, their children don't go to our schools. That kind of thing, so. I just want to make sure that everybody who's a stakeholder really has, a voice in this thing. And I know, out where I am in the 14th precinct, it's probably the least dense, precinct of all, but in terms of land area, we have a lot of land area. And this is where most of the expansion is going. So I just, want to make sure that the agricultural segment, is represented in this because they're going to be impacted the most.
Yeah, I don't, there will be probably people that aren't included. I don't mean that in a harsh way. It's not declarative statement, but we're probably gonna find people that have not been included. I am all ears on how to best reach everybody. As of now, I don't have agriculture, we don't have an agricultural focus group versus the other three. We certainly could add that. But if there are things that are missing, I'll follow up this evening, not tonight, but later this week with these categories. And then if anyone identifies anything, I'd love to, that we're missing, I'd like to include them. It is, I mean, these are challenging projects to have to community perception or community land use discussions to include everybody. I am open as to how that happens. But so far, the thought is to have these open houses and hopefully that people from these that represent different areas pop up and avail themselves to participate.
Peter, if I recall correctly, at our last meeting, the consultant did say that they were very much interested in having representatives that live and work here in Delta Township. They are really going out of their way to make sure. And they understood your point about people coming from the outside and make decisions. And one of the things they were looking at are people who live in Delta Township but work outside, or people who live outside of Delta Township or inside. Why?
But in terms of getting eyes on this process, if anyone has suggestions or criticism, please do share it. I mean, we're not doing a mailing to every mailbox in the community, mostly because it's very expensive to do a big mailing like that. We're utilizing, for better or for worse, the social media, email blasts, kind of word of mouth method. But I'm certainly open to expanding that.
Will it be, the open house, will it be dealing with, some of the hot topics? For example, Saginaw Corridor,
Mhm.
is that something that would be a master plan topic?
I hope so. I mean, that's, to me, the future land use map and the corridor are fair game for discussion about the vision for West Saginaw. I'd like to include the CIA board in that discussion as well. I'm very much interested in the community feedback on future of West Saginaw, whatever aspect of that. For example, and this is not me, this is not a policy position, I'm just stating. Do the residents here want to see taller buildings along West Saginaw, residential on a second or third floor? Buildings closer to the road, parking behind, like what does the built environment look like or desired for the residents here? Do we think that West Saginaw has too much traffic and there should be no more development? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, especially one is a non-resident and someone that has only worked here for 2 years. I don't have those answers yet. And so I think it's kind of an appetite question for the community. And I don't know if they've ever asked this or how long it's been since we've had these kind of questions.
As I said, they're trying, the consultant seems to be trying to be very inclusive, like on a related issue. They made sure that we had a pretty healthy discussion about the role of public transit in growth and maintaining and managing what we have. So, like I said, I think they're really trying to be inclusive, and as I said, they're trying to put it together in a context so that nothing is evaluated in isolation. Too often is what happens. You get bits and pieces and they just stick them together with glue rather than having it make sense.
So Peter, what's the goal? What's your takeaway? What do you hope to take away from this? I know you said you don't have details on how it's gonna be facilitated, but is it more just to share information with the public or get
For
their
this specific
feedback?
event,
Yeah.
right now, for this specific, I mean, we are still developing those objectives for that
Yeah,
meeting.
and
And I've
it's-
been asking the same questions to the
Uh-huh.
developers, like, give me some, or the consultant with like, we need something to chew on here. My biggest thing is getting the community survey out into the general population so we can get as many eyes on that as possible. Getting awareness generally of this process and what is forthcoming, what they're gonna see out of it. And I think those are the biggest things because this is more of a kind of introduction to the process, introduction to the project. And that's to me, the main mission for the first meeting
Mhm.
is just to get this out there. So. Yeah,
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Peter.
thank you.
Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is an update on the capital improvements program.
That's me. Again, I just wanted to follow up since the last time we talked about it. We did bring this to the township board at its last meeting. The board was supportive of moving ahead with a code amendment. And it will be just a couple of different words really to add. It would be a very small amendment to the code to change it and to change the direction of the CIP. But they were supportive of it in general. So I just have to make those draft that language and bring it to them for consideration.
Okay.
Which I will do in future, either this next meeting or the one after.
Okay.
And then internally, we are starting the CIP process. With kind of that in mind, we'll be starting that process. But yeah, and then as projects come up, I did share the section 61 review information with the township board. We don't need their approval for that, but we'll start doing it, but I'm sharing that with all the department directors as well. So that as those come around, that they will get scheduled for the planning commission discussion.
Thank you.
If I could follow up, can I go back to an item? I'll follow up via email with this, but the three categories are community mobility. This is back to the master plan, community mobility, local business / labor force, and then safe and healthy communities. They are purposefully generic. So community mobility, local business labor force, and safe and healthy communities. I think most things fall into one of those loosely at worst. So I can share some of the groups that we've reached out to or are reaching out to, and then if anyone has any other ideas, please do share those.
What was the third one, Peter?
Safe and healthy communities.
And how do you define community mobility? What's that?
I don't know if we've defined it, but I think it's the focus is on generally transportation, but transportation of all types of people. People, vehicles, runners, walkers, schools, bikes, parks.
So I don't see agriculture in there.
I would
Just my
throw that
comment.
under safe and healthy communities. You could. That's all for me. I'll put this in writing. I'll send this out in writing too.
Is there an organization from agriculture you think that you could include? You have a suggestion?
Well, we're, a pretty diverse group.
Okay,
Kind of loose knit, we all kind of live outside of Interstate 96. So, but, to your point, we don't have an organization or, meet regularly or whatever, we talk when we borrow trailers. We talk when we, about the price of grain, and who's got wheat and who's got first cut and who's got this and that, it's all kind of informal, we know each other, but there's not a, you know, a neighborhood group because, you know, we're not really a neighborhood like, you know, like these developments, you know, that you add up all these developments and you come up with Delta Township.
So there's not agriculture of Lansing or agriculture of Delta Township or anything like that? Someone had concerns they have.
No, there's probably a 4-H group. You know, it's kids, but you know, their parents are, you know, all involved in agriculture and stuff like that.
So what would you suggest to help Peter? How to include agriculture?
I can reach out and talk to my neighbors, talk to people out there, find out a little bit more about, you know, the 4-H community.
Because I think what he would like to have is one contact, not like 100 people calling him.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
If possible, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and obviously, you know, there's a whole continuum, you know, within that agriculture from.
right,
You know, the hobby farmer all the way up through the agribusiness, all of them probably have different interests in
right.
what they would like to see happen, so.
I mean, what I divided into 2 groups, those that take a shower in the morning before they go to work, and those that take a shower at the end of the day after they've been working.
Okay. Special township board meeting on housing on August 6th.
Yep. I just wanted to get this on your radar. The township will be hosting long. We'll see how it's scheduled for 3 hours. On that evening on August 6th. So the plan is to have, this started with the township supervisor. And I think has been kind of a long running conversation over the last several years about housing, or maybe there's been desire to have this conversation about housing. This intermingles well with the master plan conversation. It's not so much a policy direction meeting as it is an educational opportunity for, to just kind of touch broadly on a lot of issues around housing. I think we all know housing is very complex. Like the things that Commissioner Howell's mentioned, I mean, that it runs the gamut from everybody. Everybody has an opinion. We all live in houses or apartments. Everybody has an opinion about housing, informed, well-informed, uninformed, and everything in between. So the goal is to at least touch on kind of all of a little bit of history about what the region is doing policy-wise. So Tri-County did a housing study in this area. The state did a big housing program. Well, it's more of they're more prescriptive in what they want to see kind of local communities in Michigan do. We're going to walk through those. There's going to be a representative from MISTA there to talk about the programming, the programs that MISTA does. And it's not intended to be persuasive or any of that. It's more just to say like, we're MISTA, here are the different things that we do. Now, the township board, as politicians, have interests and have talked about issues around housing over the last couple of years. So part of this is to ask them questions, have them in the room to ask questions, them to provide the board with some information about how they're like the applicable programs that potentially could happen in Delta Township. They're not suggesting they're going to be implemented, but this is their chance to ask questions, kind of have that expert in the room, talk about the program. We're also going to touch on, I'm going to have a significant part of it. That I'm going to talk about policy, and I'll be way more, hopefully more, better than tonight, but the talk about generally kind of like this policy context about what is zoning, like how do we regulate housing with zoning? What are the types of housing that are allowed here now? What are the processes that people go through to build it? And that kind of thing, along with some other kind of just issues, like for example, accessory dwelling units. We allow them right now as attached units by special land use permit. We could potentially, and I'm not suggesting we should or shouldn't, allow detached accessory dwelling units in certain zoning districts. That's a community conversation that would have to happen. I feel like my role in things like that are just to talk about how it would work, what it would look like in our ordinance, and then some of the potential maybe advantages, disadvantages, or challenge, maybe better phrased as challenges, opportunities, issues that we might run into here, like characteristics of this community that could make that challenging in a variety of ways. So it's going to be at a pretty high level. The idea is just to get a lot of information out there. We did set up, and I can send this when I send my other email, a form to try to solicit as many questions as possible ahead of time so that we can hit on things that people are asking about. So there's a form right now on the township website that you can go to and submit questions. And the intent behind that was just to get more, just to give us some time to prepare for questions that might come up. And so that that the meeting can reflect what people are asking about. That's it. So that's the mission for that meeting. It's really informational only. Hoping to just kind of daylight a lot of issues around housing and provide some information. I do not think it's going to be the only time that this is happening. I don't know that we'll do another special board meeting, but after the meeting, I don't speak for the board, obviously, but after this meeting, I'm imagining there's going to still be a lot of questions about things. So I could see the township coming back and having specific policy discussions, whether it's ADUs or something, some type of affordable housing program that Mishta offers. I'm sure pilots will be discussed at some point. So they're all things that like housing issues that have been bouncing around for a while. We're going to talk about the information surrounding it, how they're applied, what it looks like to people, like for example, a tax bill, like what do people in an apartment pay versus someone that in a single family neighborhood? Like, how does that all work? So we're just gonna kind of scratch the surface, and there'll be opportunities for discussion in the weeks and months following this meeting. I wanted to get it on your radar, one, if you're interested in attending, if you're interested in submitting questions, and if you have any, maybe feedback even after the event. I think it starts at 6 o'clock on the 6th. So once you wrap up with the master plan, event the night before, you'll have a plan for the next night too. I think there's a board meeting that Monday night, so we'll have a busy week that week.
Any other discussion on that? Project updates.
Oh, just a couple things I wanted to mention. We're getting closer we have a meeting this week about the Bass Pro Shop, so that is still happening. They're just working with the township team on figuring, we gotta get the road dedicated, the North Marketplace Drive or North Marketplace Boulevard, and then all the utilities turned over. And we're getting closer to issuing site plan approval for the Bass Pro Shops. It's been a long time at this point, but the reason for that delay has been unresolved issues from previous phases. Really, the lawsuit, that the litigation amongst the ownership and development team that's kind of the causation. The effect of that has been the projects in the previous phases really never got closed out properly. So that's a big part of what we're doing, and if you remember back, there were 38 conditions on the site plan approval. So we're just clicking through those to make sure that everything's getting addressed. So coming sooner than later. A couple other things you may have seen in the news, or local news, social media, however you consume your community news. The Horrocks opened their coffee area. If you've ever been over there yet, they have a area in the back where the retail sales used to be. They are still there, but now in addition to that, you can get an espresso or cappuccino. So Anna's House has been long planned to come to the community. They did file an interior renovation permit, so they are working on that right now. So I just talked to today.
Somewhere in October.
What's that?
I read somewhere in October.
That's what they're aiming for, is to open in October. I did talk to a guy today about installing the grease interceptor, so they're putting money into this site and it's gonna happen. The reason I say it that way is it's been for a year now, or since I've actually been on staff, I think it's been just not quite sure, but they are putting time and permits and money into the space, so it's happening sooner than later. That's probably those are the big things I just want to mention tonight.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, can I ask Peter a question
Absolutely.
about that?
Yep.
How wrapped up are you or the building department or whatever in the construction that's going on Nixon Road between Mount Hope and Davis Highway?
Is that the road, the county road department?
Yeah,
Not really at all. I'm aware that it's happening, but haven't. There are no approvals they needed for me. So that all went through Eaton County.
I was just wondering if you had information on the truck route that they're supposed to be using,
No.
you know, for the ingress and egress of all the heavy equipment and the trucks and everything else.
I don't. If you had questions, shoot me an email or give me a call tomorrow and I can try to find out answers if there's concerns. I can help
I can-
facilitate.
Yeah, I can just call the Eaton County Road Commission and talk to somebody on their staff, cause
Yeah,
that's
try to
maybe,
talk to Matt
that's
Hannes.
probably too down in the weeds, you know, for your department to get involved in.
Try to talk to Matt Hannes, Hannahs. He's their, I guess, managing director. I'm not sure what the chief engineer, I'm not sure what they call him.
Okay.
But he'll know.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Seeing nobody remaining from the public, we can move past public comments. Any additional comments, Peter? We've pretty much worn you out tonight.
No, I don't think so. No, just I'll follow up with an email on the master plan and like I said, very open to suggestions on this process. I don't think we're too far down the road to add things to the scope of what we're doing, so leave no good idea unturned here. So if you have something, if you think we're missing something, please let me know.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion from the commissioners? Seeing none, entertain a motion. Yep. Go ahead, Marvin.
Debated on whether to ask the question. It's a question of Peter. Is the membership on the steering committee fixed at this point?
I think so, and it's not meant to be prohibiting anybody else coming to the group. It was more just, trying to keep it a small group just to make it function better. I'm not opposed to bringing on someone else if that's.
I'm not bidding to get on it.
Oh, okay.
That was not the basis of my question.
Yeah,
I asked the question because Mr. Howe, I thought, asked a lot of very good process questions and also brings a unique perspective that might be useful to the steering committee. That's why I asked the question.
I can tell you when the next meeting is, David. I will tell you. I can't tell you this one.
Okay,
I'll shoot you a note that says when it is.
great.
Yeah, it's not intended to be a closed. I mean, nor are
No, I
the, just,
understand.
yeah, no, and then
I
just
really
to say this out loud, the focus groups aren't intended to be limited either. I mean, it's not an attempt to limit conversation on this. It's more of a kind of practical limit of like number of people that are involved and we can't invite everybody kind of thing. So,
Get nothing.
yeah, so I'm all ears on if anyone has better ways of doing these things. We're following kind of the playbook that the consultant has experience with. I've worked and facilitated public groups for years. I mean, my biggest challenge is always just getting people to the table.
Yeah.
So, I want a representative group. I mean, we want that, and I don't want to close off any doors or ears or mouths. So if it looks like we're doing that, please tell us. I am concerned and paranoid about that in general, is we're gonna leave somebody behind or maybe someone feels like they weren't engaged with the group. So I don't have all the answers, as to how this should proceed the best possible way. So please, if you have something, let us know, or if you think of something, I don't feel completely, the consultant is there to work on our behalf. We don't have to follow everything, if we have other ideas, we can do what we want to do, and they have to help us. So it's not a prescriptive thing, that we have to do, that we have to do what everybody always does. So just to get that out there.
Any other comments from the commission?
Moves to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.